Mark Brewer, what is President Barack Obama, going to do for Michigan if, as now seems inevitable, this happens?
Well, I think there are several things in the works that Senator Obama would like to see. First of all, the loans that are being made available to the domestic auto industry, the first $25 billion. He's been pushing very hard to get that money out the door. It seems that the Bush administration is dragging its feet. He's very much in favor of doubling the amount that is available to them. I know there's already some lobbying going on by the GM and Chrysler folks to have access to that money as part of this transaction that they may engage in. He's also got a longer-term $150 billion program to invest in advanced manufacturing and alternative fuels. That's not focused just on the auto industry, but certainly the auto industry could avail itself of that. We would like to see an additional economic stimulus package passed, perhaps in the lame duck session of Congress, and additional efforts, again, to continue to work with the credit markets, which have been a real problem for the domestic auto industry. Anticipating your question you may have, Jack, as far as I know, the Senator has not taken a position on the GM-Chrysler negotiations in terms of what they would yield, but may, as president, obviously have to deal with the fallout.
Senator Schwarz, when Senator McCain was campaigning in the primary here, he told people that a lot of auto jobs that disappeared just aren't coming back, and he took some political heat for that. Now that it seems likely that more jobs are going to disappear, what do you think his policy is going to be?
A lot of it is going to be on-the-job training, whether it's Senator Obama or Senator McCain, because we've not seen a crisis like this in 100 years. Senator McCain has been very supportive of the loan program to the auto industry, supportive of, in fact, going from $25 to $50 million and getting the money out the door, as Mark says, as quickly as possible. I doubt that there's any difference in the camps on that issue. I don't know that it's entirely a federal responsibility to deal with the fallout if Chrysler becomes a part of General Motors, or if Chrysler becomes something that doesn't exist anymore. Bob Nardelli talked about 30,000 jobs yesterday, excuse me, was published, and 30,000 job loss in Michigan, over and above what we have right now, is really going to be very, very difficult to swallow. So we're treading on land that hasn't been explored before from an economic standpoint. I know that Senator McCain supports the bailout program, and he supports doubling it. At that point, I would say we're going to have to see what happens and take it the way it comes. John McCain is very supportive of the state of Michigan. He loves the state of Michigan. I believe he probably wishes he didn't say some of the things that he said last January about jobs not coming back, but I think all of us in Michigan know now that a lot of jobs, in fact, aren't coming back.
Mark Coscarelli, it seems to me that the environment, in a way, has been sort of the forgotten issue of this presidential campaign. What do you think is the biggest and most urgent environmental challenge facing Michigan?
Well, let me start by saying it's I guess not unanticipated. The environment so often seems to be left off the list of priorities when we're talking about a national election like we are today. I think what I'd like to do is tie back the environment to how interrelated the environment is to so many of the issues I suspect we'll be talking about tonight, whether it's the economy, whether it's healthcare, whether it's jobs. So often the environment's viewed in a vacuum, and so I look forward to sharing some ideas and discussing that. Back to Michigan. If I can answer that by suggesting three topics, really. Toxics, exotics, and the loss of physical habitat are really three broad areas for the environment that face Michigan. And these issues have been prevalent for many years now in the Great Lakes. I had the experience of focused in particular on invasive species, what those species currently are doing to the Great Lakes system, and fundamentally changing the ecosystem as we know it, and the problems that go along with that. Loss of physical habitat, and this is also tied to global climate change, What we're seeing there, again, is loss of nearshore habitat, wetlands, and related ecosystem parts. So,
but let's say you're the new president, whoever that is, comes in, limited money, limited time, lots of priorities. What is the one environmental thing you want them to do first?
I would say Michigan has 14 areas of concern, hotspots, if you will.
Are you a candidate for office? Name one. One thing. What should be environmental job one?
From my perspective, I'd like to see the end to the ongoing invasion of invasive species in the Great Lakes.
Great. Dr. Mahawili. We never expected 6 months ago the gas would be down to $2.40 a gallon or whatever it is, but everyone knows it's not going to stay there. There's been a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth and talking about alternative fuels. In which direction should Michigan most quickly move in that area?
That's a great question, actually. I mean, if you asked me last week, I would have had a different answer. At 245, I am very concerned. I mean, there was a good time, believe it or not, at $4 a gallon was a very good time for considering the alternative and renewable technologies for our state. Now, you need to know that we import 93% of our fossil fuels in the state. We export some $16 to $20 billion a year for that energy. But therefore, we have no fossil fuels, basically resources in the state. And in the state that we have the greatest resource is in #1 wind. Believe it or not, regardless what Thomas Boone Pickens says, we are not the prairies, we are the Midwest, but we have class 5 to 6 wind potential. In Lake Michigan, or even on land, near the land, there's a potential. I mean, this is studied by DOE and NREL, and now Michigan State just supported that study, some 300 gigawatts of power. And what that translates to, if you divide that by 10, that's an available wind potential power for some 30 to 40 nuclear power stations. This would, the population centers that live in the Midwest would supply us with this renewable energy, I mean, forever, plus creating jobs. But as a result of that, what those low prices have done is create a concern, you know, of what's going to happen next. Are we going to be continuing on the increased database, the valuation, the economic valuation of energy, either through the new RPS that's been passed by our governor on October 6th, or hopefully I'm hoping that it will pass some cap and trade sort of policy by either of the candidates, at least as a starter.
Joe Schwarz, what is the fundamental foundation of Senator McCain's energy policy?
The fundamental foundation of his energy policy is multifaceted. He is a very strong proponent of nuclear power. He has said we should build 40 to 45 new nuclear plants in the U.S. I tend to agree with him. It's going to be a long time coming. We discussed that in the U.S. House when I was there in the Science Committee time and time again. But it's going to be very, very difficult without the government cutting some slack for people to make the investment to build the nuclear plants. But nuclear power is non-polluting. The French provide 80% of their power from nuclear plants. The United States, about 20%. So McCain feels very, very strongly about nuclear power. He believes there should be additional drilling. I will say that he has opposed, and Barack Obama has also opposed, drilling in Anwar in the Alaska National Wildlife Refuge. And he has talked about wind or geothermal or tide, which doesn't affect Michigan, or biomass. And one of the things that McCain has said privately to me, and I believe he has said publicly, is he's not crazy about the fact that we're making all this ethanol from corn. That's not where we should be getting the ethanol from. That's fool's gold. Ethanol from other sources, and ethanol produced with reactions that aren't exothermic, like corn ethanol, it is a better place to get it. Ethanol is fine, but we shouldn't be dumping a huge part of our corn crop into ethanol. But I think McCain's ideas on energy are good. I especially like the nuclear energy option because it's one that's coming sooner or later, and we might just as well face it and get on with it.